Okay. So I can't really see where that's at.
You can see what
Yeah, okay.
You just cut me in. 13 point... 13 and a half.
13.5 exactly?
Yeah.
Okay. Week 1, 13.5 inches. What I've always heard is that your neck and biceps should be about the same. So I think my biceps are around 16 inches. So I'd like to bring my neck up at least to about like 15 inches. I don't even know if that's possible or not. But certainly by not training it, you're definitely not gonna hypertrophy it. And as I see it, the neck is really like any other muscle. If you just train it, then it will respond and it will hypertrophy. So for the next 6 months or so, I'm gonna be running this experiment and seeing what direct neck training is gonna do for the size of my neck muscles. Hey guys, so my old anatomy prof basically taught us the anatomy of the neck by scribbling on one of the students' necks using markers. So that's the same thing that I'm gonna do here. So the first muscle that we wanna consider when training the neck is really the biggest muscle in the neck, and it's the one that is going to most powerfully contribute to any forward flexion of the neck. And that is the sternocleidomastoid. So if you just kind of break down the name of that muscle, it tells you a lot about its anatomy. So sternocleidomastoid tells you that it originates here at the sternum, also at the clavicle, and then it runs up the side of the neck and inserts kind of at the back here at what's called the mastoid process, which is kind of like a bony protuberance sort of at the back and the side of the skull. So we have the muscle that starts here, comes up the side of the neck, and then inserts up here at the back, and sort of fans out here, goes out to the clavicle like that. So this is the sternocleidomastoid. So if we just imagine this muscle shortening, so what would happen is the neck would be pulled forward, so it would flex straight forward, and then also because it kind of loops around the side, it would also flex laterally. So when we want to train this muscle to hypertrophy it, we're going to want to be doing movements that train neck flexion and then also lateral flexion. So the other muscle that also works lateral flexion are called the scalene muscles. So these originate at the cervical vertebrae. So these are the upper vertebrae of the spine. And then they sort of come around and insert on the first and second ribs. So they sort of run here, sort of inside the SCM, and there are 3 of those. So they sort of go in, and they're sort of like a deep muscle, but if you imagine these muscles contracting, they're also going to assist in lateral flexion. And then there are also a bunch of sort of smaller muscles that run up and down the neck here, such as the sternohyoid, which originates at the sternum and inserts up here at the hyoid bone. You have the thyrohyoid, you have the omohyoid, and these are all basically muscles that depress the hyoid bone, but they're not going to contribute too much force to forward flexion, so I'm not really going to consider those any further. Okay, so for the back of the neck, the main muscle that we're going to focus on is the trapezius. It's sort of like a fan-shaped muscle. It originates up here at the occipital bone, which is this big chunk of the skull, kind of at the back here. And the fibers come down and out in a fan shape. They insert on the clavicle and then also on the scapula back here. But importantly for the neck, what we want to focus on are the upper trap fibers. So they originate up here and then they sort of come down and along and insert into the clavicle and then also back here into the scapula. And they run laterally like this, and then also up and into the occipital bone of the skull. So if you imagine these muscles shortening, it's going to bring the origin closer to the insertion. The neck is going to extend or tilt. We want to train these muscles through neck extension, and then also clavicular or scapular elevation through shrugging. So that's basically it. There are also the 2 capitis muscles, so the splenus capitis and the semispinalis capitis. So the semispinalis capitis is basically a muscle that just runs straight up and down on the neck. So it originates at the cervical vertebrae, so the upper vertebrae of the spine, and just runs up vertically like this and inserts at the base of the occipital bone. And then you also have the splenius capitis, so it's very similar. It originates at the cervical vertebrae, but instead of running straight up, it kind of runs out to the side and then inserts at the mastroid process of the temporal bone, so that protuberance that's sort of on the side of the skull. If you imagine this shortening, it's going to bring the neck back, or the head back through neck extension. And then also because it kind of comes up to the side, it will also help to rotate the neck. These are the most important muscles that we need to consider. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Like the video if you found it informative. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. All right, hey guys, so I decided to make my full neck building program available for download on my website. So you can click here and download the program for $5. Or there's also an option to pay $2. So really you can pay whatever you think is reasonable for this routine. If you guys don't have the funds to pay for a program right now, there is also the option to buy it for $0. And if you would like to support me and support this channel in another way, then you can do that simply by sharing this video, or by subscribing to the channel, or by commenting or liking the video. And that stuff is always very much appreciated. But if you guys would like to download the routine, then you can click the link right here and just follow the simple steps through. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Is it coming off? It is though.
Yeah, it's coming off easy. Just like washable markers, not even soap on this thing.